Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, we're joined by Ethan Daffy. And today, we are reviewing a very interesting performance at Melbourne Stadium, Daffy Boy. Final scores were Blues 16 goals, 11, 107 to the Kangaroos, 14 goals for 88. I'm sure if you weren't watching the game, you probably would look at this performance and probably expect that the Kangaroos played quite well and maybe Carlton were playing solid as well. But I think this is probably the first lot of wins that I've really witnessed in a long time. And I want this while we'll speak about it. That was very, very worrying from my point of view. But first things first, David Boy, how are you? Obviously, you were at the game as well. What were your initial thoughts? And do you think I'm overreacting just a little bit? Because the past few weeks has been a bit of a and then a rhythm, a pattern. But what's your overall initial thoughts for the game today?
Yeah, no good. No, I actually thought, I know we needed to respond to that second half, but I thought that was a good second half in terms of intensity and pressure. We had 240 pressure rating in the third quarter, which we had, I think it's almost the season high. So we had to do it, and we did. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird patch at the moment. It shows you how long the year is for me. It's a long year. It's a fucking long year. You can have form slumps, and we've had form slumps, and we're sitting a game ahead in second or half a game ahead in second. So, yeah, one of those games you get the win and you get the fuck out of Marvel and put those highlights away forever.
So are you seeing it from the point of view of you're not too worried? Because I don't know how to think of it, because one, it was North Melbourne, and I think North Melbourne are probably a 30-point difference from a Dogs and the Giants, and we lost to the Dogs by, I think, 14 points, and we lost to the Giants by 12. So we weren't blown out in any of the games, but I didn't see much of a difference today. I just think it was purely the opposition. I think the North Melbourne are very attacking, which is what we were kind of alerted to. But I just think their defense was something that really didn't help too much. But what's your overall thoughts? I guess from the defensive point of view of from North Melbourne, do you think we really took charge of that? Because from my point of view, and that's why we need to speak about it. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, no, it's shit. It was shit today. We've lost complete confidence. I think we're overthinking a lot of things in our game at the moment. The last 3 weeks, you know what I mean? It's that extra second to make a decision or changing your decision. And I think one guy, I'm not gonna, I don't like pointing out players, but I think one guy who's been really down on form the last month is Sam Walsh. What has happened to him? For me, I think he's a little bit underdone. He ran off in the last 2 minutes. He didn't play the last 2 minutes. Looks sore. I'm not saying I'm blaming anything, but is it time to give him a week when we need him before the finals? You know what I mean? Like, we've got a 5-day break. Do we need to be risking these guys? I'm not saying it's Port Adelaide. Nothing to do with the opposition. But we should be able to field a team capable enough to beat Port Adelaide or anyone without a guy like that. You know, and we should be able to cover it. But, yeah, it's... yeah, of course, North are a worse side than the Dogs and Giants, but yeah, it's just the way we're going about it in that first half. And then all of a sudden, what happens, Patto? We pick up the pressure. We pick up the pressure and you win the game of football. Fuck me, it's really not that hard. The one key thing I take out of the last few weeks: how many shitty goals are we giving away? How many we realistically we were down. We were much better in the second half. We probably should have won the game by 5 goals. We had some let-off shots in that last quarter, some crucial misses. Chincotta. I thought Owies one in the second quarter killed our momentum. Oh, it might have been third quarter. That momentum. It would have been 4 goals. We could have gone on, I reckon, if he kicks that. You know what I mean? Heads drop. I don't know. Everyone goes, don't look at one individual moment, but there's moments like that, Patto, in a grand final. You see in grand finals. Last year, Jared Berry gives away the 50. They lose the grand final by a goal. So it's, for me, it's defensively. We weren't giving up goals like that in that 5-week, 6-week patch. Like those just easy fucking goals. It's just, oh, God. Man, it's showing the importance of Mitch McGovern in it. Holy fuck. Because no one comes across to help lead us. And many times, gee, he's good. We didn't have him. Oh, fuck. That back six is looking a little bit worrying, in my opinion.
How did you see Sam Durden's performance tonight?
He was banged up, the poor bastard. He hurt himself on that wing contest. I was like, fuck. He just looked real sore in the second. He battled in the second half, to be honest with you. I can't really say too much. It's a guy who came in late. I thought the selection was weird. He wasn't right to be picked. Didn't get through training. Marchbank doesn't play, so you still pick him when he's on 100% right. And you got Kemp, who's fit and played really well in the twos. So that's more interesting selections. And I thought North Melbourne absolutely picked us apart of that first half through selection and the way they structured up. They put Comben up forward. And how short were we? Had Newman on Teakle at one point. We had Kennedy on Teakle at one point. I know Teakle's no superstar. And I thought they actually did all right on him, to be honest with you. But yeah, Comben was fantastic in that first half. And to me, that shows, a little bit of out coaching from them in that first half.
And it's quite interesting how they pushed Comben forward. Because he's been playing in the back line all year, and he was a player that kind of showed like a bit of quality there. But so if you had the time back and you were the coach to pick that team, obviously Marchbank with missing with illness doesn't help. But what would you have done? Do you think you would have brought in Brodie Kemp? Because knowing that Sam Durden, the news report that was coming out before the team selection was if Sam Durden got through training, he was going to play, but he did not. Straight away was like he didn't pass what Vossi was looking for. So that was an interesting one of him also being listed in the emergencies, because I thought potentially Brodie Kemp would have been listed in the emergencies. I think he was in the end because of the changes. But what would you have done? Would you have brought in Brodie Kemp? Because I thought that would have been probably a straight swap. And when I saw Sam Durden come in, I'm like, that's interesting, because that was meant to happen when he got through training, but he didn't get training, and now he did. So how did you see all that? If you had the time back, would you have gone with Durden? Because I think Teakle down there was a threat alongside Larky. I think Weeders did a very good job on Larky. But what did you see that overall situation? Because that was a big worry for me.
I think it's weird. I think the overall weird kind of thinking of it is that because he wasn't fit, like you said. Well, apparently he wasn't fit, didn't get through training. So I just find that really odd. I think they had to, looking back, hindsight's obviously a good thing. I don't think Durden actually got outplayed by his opponent. I actually think our medium defenders really struggled today. On guys like Paul Curtis, who kicked 3. Those players, they just kicked a few. Eddie Ford got off the leash a few times. But I think size-wise, we were short with Durden in the team as well. I don't think if we didn't play him, we would have been small in that defence, wouldn't we? You've almost got to just bite the bullet. He must have been all right to play. He must have been okay to play. You wouldn't pick him if he wasn't right. But yeah, it's a interesting situation. I think Gav will be back on Friday. He needs to be in next week. Not even worrying about the opponent, just more we need to get him right. And on the other end, you look at Jack Martin's got to get a game, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was hearing a few days ago that McGovern, they pretty much gave him the extra rest this week because he was kind of 50-50 and you didn't really want to risk him for a game like this weekend. Make sure that he's 100% right for Port Adelaide. And the exact same thing was with Caleb Marchbank. He was obviously ill this week, so he couldn't play. But what I'm hearing is he might be good to go for Friday, but I don't know if you give him another rest. But also you've got a guy like Brodie Kemp, who obviously was omitted due to form. Yeah. And I don't know if you bring him back because I don't think he was as bad as we kind of made him out to be.
Yes.
So I think he probably shouldn't. I was very surprised in the end where they kind of went with DURDIN, because I think we were kind of all speaking about oh yeah, potentially he could play, even Barney even said as well, he was optimistic that DURDIN would come in. I then sent you a message saying I think it could be a chance, but we didn't see it happening. But then when it happened, we were like, oh, okay, well that's interesting. And then as I said, he got through. He didn't get through the fitness test. Was meant to play. If he got through, didn't get through. Blah blah blah. But so if you had the time back, would you have? Not saying that you're Michael Voss, but if you were Michael Voss, would you have picked Camp over DURDIN, or do you think DURDIN's performance tonight was quite serviceable?
Yeah, I think it was serviceable.
Yeah,
I actually think he was banged up. I think he was initially banged up before the game, and then he actually hurt himself more. So I think size-wise against that forward line, you had to pick the bigger guy. I just think, and also it gives Kemp a game of the twos. And I think he played really well, and obviously there was another name in there who had 47 disposals. So that'll be an interesting selection call too. He probably adds his name to the mix. So yeah, I would have picked him. He was serviceable, and it'll be interesting to see what we do next week, because obviously their forward line it's probably more mids, isn't it? Resting midfielders kind of going through there for Port Adelaide. They're not as big as North Melbourne. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
How did you see Ollie Holland's performance tonight? Speaking about Jackson Binns, obviously he dominated the VFL, and he obviously got 47 and 3 goals, I think it was, in the end. But how did you see Ollie Holland's performance? Because I know that he was one of those players that probably needed to perform the next few weeks to really stay in this side, and he somewhat performed tonight. How did you see his game?
I liked it. Liked his game. For me, the way I've kind of been targeting his games is when he has a moment to do something good. He did it on I think that third quarter. There's a few times on the wing. That's what he was doing last year, Patto. He was doing those moments where he's got his opponent. I'm not letting my opponent beat me. Doesn't matter what size he is. You know what I mean? What height he is. It's kind of heart over height in a sense sometimes with him. And he did that tonight, and he was kicking his goals. I know he missed that one in the last quarter, but he was kicked the goal in the first quarter. Important. He wasn't doing that he hasn't done that this year, Patto. So yeah, I thought his game was good. I thought someone else was better as well. I thought Cottrell had a good game on that wing. I thought he was, there was a few. It's more about link up. That's his role. And it's link up plays. When we were getting those goals, he was a part of those link up chains. I thought he was better tonight.
It's interesting because we've got a different opinion on that, don't we? I think Ollie Hollands is still making the mistakes that he wouldn't be making if he had a few weeks in the VFL. That's just my opinion. Would you disagree?
I don't think he made many errors tonight. There was one error going inside the Crips that I know, but apart from that, I don't know what else. Yeah.
I think, I'm not trying to shit on him, but I just think that you need to reward their effort in the VFL, and I think you almost have to play Jackson Binns next week. And I'm very surprised that you said that about Matt Cottrell, because I thought the exact opposite. I thought he was awfully quiet. I'm surprised he didn't get subbed off for Cunningham, because obviously Akers was subbed out, and that's another conversation where over the next few days we'll hear more about that. There was absolutely no news that came out. Did you hear anything about Akers?
Nah, tactical. Yeah, tactical. I think it was just structure-wise, but yeah, don't get me started on the 400 mids we've got, and we run with the mid that's not that good in the middle. So fuck me dead, honestly. Jack Carroll, I don't know what has warranted his selection. I thought he was he was. Patto, we've got this midfield, right? And we've got 8 guys or 7 midfielders, and the mix we run with in that first half was unbelievable at certain stages of that game. But that's what I mean in terms of the mix. Like Kennedy was just floating around from position to position. Put him in the guts. Put him in the guts. Oh, don't get me started about it. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, well, Jack Carroll was another player where it was very, very interesting how that all played out. But yeah, I'm very surprised that Akers was like a tactical sub, because he was playing forward for half of that third quarter.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what that was about as well, with why he was kind of pushed forward. In my opinion, he looked very, it didn't look right. So,
yeah,
is it listed as a tactical sub?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
Okay.
think they had him up forward for the first five because Harry was doing his concussion test. So, gee, we were lacking tools, weren't we today? Just felt really that first half, especially. We changed the angles in the second half, luckily. But yeah, I think it was they pushed him deep to make sure we had some sort of presence because he's probably one of the taller players in the team, which shows kind of how short we were and how kind of underdone we were in that kind of height department.
Mm. How do you find Matt Kennedy when he was pushed back to play on that? I guess like to play on Teakle. Let's be real. But how did you see that happening? Because there wasn't a lot of other
Mm,
options really to really cover that. And that's
yeah.
another conversation as to why Brody Camp wasn't really considered as at least an emergency of you kind of knew that March break could be a laid out. So that was a bit interesting for mine. But how'd you see Kennedy actually going to Teakle and kind of keeping him to somewhat no overall impact, but I mean, obviously he had like the height advantage, so he still played a good game, Teakle. But how did you see Kennedy's game on Teakle?
Yeah, I thought he was good. Yeah, you can tell that why Tickle hasn't had much time at AFL level, don't you? You're that tall, you're that big, and you get 7 touches for the game on an opponent that's not even close to your height and size. But yeah, I thought, yeah, Kennedy just got floated around. Then he finally went in the middle, and we started winning clearances. It's just, it's that I was. You should have heard me at the game. I was going off my nana about the midfield mix. I could not fucking believe it. And then Cripps and Walsh. Well, Walsh, not Cripps. Walsh was getting beaten. Oh, I thought he was getting beaten for the majority of the game. I know he ended up with 25, but was it 25?
No.
Nah, it wasn't, was it? And he was getting beaten. Take him out of the midfield. Change it up. Put him at half forward like we were at the end, like last year's final series. And then he comes around the stoppage. You know what I mean? Do him a favor. Obviously, they're targeting him, right? And obviously, they put time into it. But he's just, it's just that midfield mix for me is just they, they're tinkering with it. Probably at a time where we need to start locking it in.
Mm. What would you have changed? Because obviously Jack Carroll was getting more CBAs than Matt Kennedy and Gerald, which when I
Fuck.
saw that happen, I'm like, what is that about?
Oh,
I think his VFL form has been solid enough, and I'm not completely surprised that he was
yeah.
rewarded the upgrade to senior footy. But for him, for the amount of, I thought it would have been a half forward wing role,
Yes.
but he had a hell of a lot of CBAs, and he ended with, I think it was 17 touches. Yeah, 17 touches, and also that like Matt Cottrell had 19 touches, and
Yeah.
that's a player that I thought 19 touches for Cottrell was a lot more than I thought. I mean, I've got to be honest, I didn't see him
Yeah.
really impact the game as much as like an Ollie Hollands would was, and he got 17 as well. So I noticed Ollie Hollands and his 17 touches more than Cottrell's 19. And I don't really I'm not sure if that's just my opinion, or if you see the same thing, or if people in the audience say the same thing as well. I'm not sure, but from my point of view, I'm just like, wow, like these stats really don't lie. And you mentioned there about Sam Walsh, about him getting 25. That's also like mind-boggling to me. But what would you have done for that midfield mix? Because Carroll was getting the CBAs. Would you have given Chera and Kennedy more of those CBAs instead of Carroll?
Yeah. I thought our structure all over the board in that first half was all over the place. I think Chera finally settled in that second half. Down back, he actually took. He should play. He played a solid second half. He's finally got into his position. I don't understand changing a guy's position at the start of a game if he's out of form. Like if Cripps is out of form, are you going to play him at centre half back? No. So you take him out of a position, so you make the game even more foreign to him. I know sometimes players you put them back and it's easier for them, blah blah blah. But yeah, the midfield mix wasn't right, and I agree. I think Carroll's form has been solid in the VFL, but I think since that first patch where he played in the AFL, he just does not seem up to it at the moment. For me, you know what I mean? Like he gets the ball and his second thoughts. I feel like there was a few moments in that first half, not just him, but it was a bit like, oh, Cripps is there, we'll just give it to him. There's a few moments there where we're giving handballs off, and it's just like, just kick it, mate. There was one moment in the middle of the ground, and Cripps got a handball through two opponents, and Carroll had an easy left foot kick to just get it inside 50, decides to handball it back to Cripps. Like, it's just like that, you know what I mean? It's just that second thought, not really comfortable at the level. That's just my thinking. And in terms of changing it up, Walsh is getting killed in the middle, take him out of the middle, put Kennedy in there, put him at half forward, put him on a wing like we said at some certain stage. Just get him out of the midfield and have a different look at things. Because I think, yeah, he's starting to turn into a bit of a garbage disposal getter. Walshy, the last month, his ball use is just hooking around. Yeah, it's just really hard to watch at the moment.
And that was one of his overall criticism when he was
Yeah.
first drafted, his first year, second year. And I mean, Kane Corns is one of the guys that really was the one that was pointing out that Connor Rosie, I think his ball use is a hell of a lot better than Sam Walsh. And like, I think Walsh has really improved that ever since probably 2021, where he had that breakout year. And I think he's been really good with that. And I don't know what the reason for that is. Like, do you think that's coaching? Do you think that's him in the moment not being able to execute the skill? What do you think it is?
Yeah, he just seems to be taking that extra second longer, doesn't he? Like when he has that ball, like someone gives him a ball and then he has someone in front of him, but he kind of just keeps drawing the pressure on himself, and then he has to long bomb down the line, which is not like let's just get to another conversation. How bad was the delivery to our forwards in that first half?
Oh, terrible.
Like, fuck me. Like, and then when we give Charlie and Harry a good run at it, what happens? They take the grab, don't they? Like, and then people would go, "Oh, Charlie, what are you doing? You sit on his head, mate, and he's got a good defender on him. It's not that hard to defend." So that's also in terms of Walsh's ball use. It's just that junk kind of down the line. He just needs to avoid doing that. Whether it's maybe he's not 100% right, and he looks tired, and he looked a bit underdone at certain stages that last quarter, in my opinion. But it's going to be interesting because he's played a big block of games since his back injury. Oh, he hasn't missed. So since round 5, hasn't missed. It's round 19. So maybe, do you look at, we've got a lot of mids in there who are fit and ready to go. Do you give them the week off, or I don't know? It's just interesting to see.
To go back to the conversation about Jack Carroll and I guess the decision making that he kind of produced in the game, do you think, like, you use the example of when he went back to Cripps, do you think that's Cripps calling for it? Or do you think that's complete panic and he doesn't know what to do in the pressure of AFL football? Because it is a massive step up, and that's why I would be curious to see how Jackson Binns would go if he was to play next week, coming off a 47 touch, 3-goal game, heading into AFL. There's a hell of a lot of players that have dominated in VFL. We can speak about Paddy Dow as well last year. He was one of those guys that dominated the VFL, but could never produce those stats in the AFL. Do you think it's the same thing for Jack Carroll? I mean, we won't touch on Jackson Binns because, I mean, he played an awesome game in the VFL, and we won't criticise any performances until he gets the opportunity in AFL. But Jack Carroll has had the opportunities this year, and I don't think he's not executed yet. How do you see it?
Yeah, I feel like the start of the year, he was that kind of stopgap where we had injuries. Like, he was that kind of cover, wasn't he? Like, he came in that opening round, and he played probably a month or month and a half of consistent, not as the sub. So, yeah, I'm not having a go at him. I just don't think he's maybe ready I don't think he's ready to just push through yet. And that takes time sometimes at AFL level. It's not always, it's not always an even trajectory where you're going straight up and turning into a superstar. There's obviously battles throughout that. So, he's serviceable at AFL level, but for me, I think we're kind of past looking serviceable. If you want to win a premiership, I think serviceble's probably in the past, isn't it? In terms of Binns, it's hard not to look at it, isn't it? He's played very consistently all year, and he has a almost 50 disposal game, Patto. Like, if you don't look at that, what's the point of playing? You know what I mean? Like, you got to reward a guy, and like you said, we can't knock him yet until he plays in the ones, and he hasn't played an opportunity apart from 5 minutes against Geelong as the sub in the game that was heat of the battle. It was a tough game of footy, so he's almost got to get rewarded, doesn't he? We've got too many mids in there, I think. because he can play that half forward wing, rolling through the mid. That's a good thing about him. So, yeah, I can't believe he hasn't got a game until now. I know it's tough to get into this side, but fuck, you have 47, Patto. You got to be knocking down the door, don't you? 47 and 3 as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Would you expect that to be a straight swap for Carroll for
Yeah,
judgment? I mean, obviously, we will touch on it more in the preview, but would you think that's a straight swap?
yeah, it depends if the health of our midfielders, if none of them go out. But yeah, I think so. I think so. He can play a half forward role, and he's got that running capacity to go on the ring. He's a good runner. I think he's top three I think him, Ollie, and Cotters and Elijah are probably up there in the top 3 or 4. So, yeah, I think you just got to give him a game, don't you? And also we need fresh legs for next week. So hopefully Gov comes in. Hopefully Binns maybe debuts and that he's technically debuted, but. And then maybe a Jack Martin pops in there. Just need fresh legs for a 5-day break. Especially, we look tired. We just look really just worn down after tonight's game.
How'd you find Charlie Curnow's performance?
Yeah, I thought he was good. Like I said with the delivery, I know it's not always on delivery, but fuck, when you give him good delivery, geez, it makes it easier, doesn't it? Finds a way to kick 4 goals, doesn't he? No, he had 15 touches. 15 and 4 is a pretty good game, and it is a key forward. Without Harry in the forward line for a bit there with TDK out for 10, 15 minutes. So Harry ran the ruck for he was knackered at halftime. I watched him at halftime. Yeah, I thought it was a good game. I'm not sure, obviously with like a bag of 6, but you can't just ask for that. He's on Griffin Logue, who I think is a really, really good defender. He played him really well too. So I just think we need a little bit of lift out of our smalls. I thought our smalls were okay in terms of goal output. I thought OLLIEs and MOTLOP, but just more, not just goal output, but other output when the ball hits the deck. There was a few times where it just goes out too quickly. You know what I mean? It's just that ease where they get the ball out. I think the last 3 weeks have shown that.
Yeah. Do you think there was a bit of a shift this week in terms of Charlie Curnow with his contest work in the air, like not getting beaten easily by his opponent?
Yeah, I think there was more times. Obviously, there's always going to be times where you misread the ball, especially with the way we were kicking it forward. But yeah, I thought he contested well. It's all about if you can't win the contest. This is what I mean about the whole Hollands situation. Do not let your opponent beat you more times than not. Like, you're going to get beaten, right? But if you don't let Griffin Logue take, 10 intercept marks in a game or however many, you got to not let him reach that mark because he can impact the game. So, yeah, I thought Charlie competed pretty well, considering we were undersized, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly right. Now, I'm just going to touch on the ladder quickly because I don't know how, like the importance of that game to get that win was crucial, and obviously Brisbane beat Sydney in the end at the Gabba. So that means that with Fremantle and Brisbane both winning in the games before us, that means they both jumped over us for the time being. So obviously Brisbane was second on the ladder, and Fremantle were third on the ladder, and we then we then went down to fourth, and obviously with us winning the game, we then jump up to second again. So first on the ladder is Sydney, obviously, with 56 points. Second on the ladder is Carlton with 48, Brisbane 46, Fremantle 46, GWS 44. So that's the top 5, and then I'll also mention Geelong, who's 44, Port as well, who's 44 as well. So from from 5th to 7th, they're all on the exact same points, and that's just down to percentage. And then obviously Brisbane and Fremantle both have the draw, so that's only a half point. So we are pretty much one game in front of GWS, who are 5th, and we're pretty much one game in front of the opposition that we play this week, Port Adelaide, because we're only one game in front. And then if they get the win, the percentage starts to worry. I think we've still got a healthy percentage of 114. So I think that's still good, but you've got Brisbane there, who's got 119, Fremantle as well. So if they get some wins over the next few weeks and we don't, they would then jump over us. And I just think this is why it is crucial to make sure that we are going to be first or second on the ladder, because you've got Brisbane and Fremantle and Sydney who are
Yeah.
the
Giants.
potential top three. I mean, Giants as well, but
Yeah.
I think probably the Cats are going to be will probably end over the Giants in the end. But even Port Adelaide as well, like that's another in-state team who's around that mark. But the top four, it could be very crucial of who ends in the first and second on the ladder, because obviously they will get the home qualifying final. And I'm saying this right now, I don't want to travel to Sydney, I don't want to travel to Brisbane, and I don't want to travel to Freo. So they're the three games of, I think Brisbane have got quite an easy draw. I think they all kind of do. I think our draw is the easiest. So I'll be very surprised if we drop down. I mean, obviously next week we've got Port Adelaide. Week after that is the Pies. Week after that, round 22 is Hawthorn. 23 is the Eagles. 24 is the Saints. So that's 5 rounds there where it's there in the, like, it's right there to take with 2 hands. But we've seen Essendon, how their second half of the year was very, very simple, and they should be making finals no matter what. And they've shit the bed against Adelaide, and they shit the bed the past few weeks against other oppositions. But how do you see the whole ladder shaping out, Duffy Boy? I know that obviously that was a crucial win to get us back up to second on the ladder, but how do you see the whole ladder shaping up, especially Brisbane getting the upset win over Sydney, and obviously Fremantle getting a pretty expected win against Melbourne, but a very, very big win as well?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's funny for me. It's the mentality of the fans when teams win a few games. Like we talk about Brisbane, they're in great form. Of course, they can push for the premiership, 100%. I think they can push for obviously the top 2 spot. But all of a sudden, these teams turn like invincible. You know what I mean? Like we've got to control our own destiny and win as many games as we can. But it's not like Brisbane and that aren't going to drop games. They're going to end up playing each other. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be games. There's going to be 8-point games where Freo play Giants and Geelong play fucking Port Adelaide. You know what I mean? So it's, people just think it's going to be, oh, we're fucked. You know what I mean? Like Brisbane's going to win every game from here. Brisbane's got Gold Coast next week. Look at how big that game is going to be. You know what I mean? Every game has got so much riding on it. So they're not just going to have a free run where they're playing bottom 6 teams, which that's not an easy run either, Patto. If you're a little bit off, like Essendon were in the last 10 minutes of the game against Adelaide in the first quarter, they lose the game. And tonight we were off in the first half, second bottom, and they gave us a scare. That's the league we're in right now. So it's just about minimising being a little bit off. And not being fully off, otherwise you will lose too many games of football. But yeah, the way I look at it now, it's going to be a tight. Sydney could not have just done us a favour today. They butchered a little bit, didn't they, in that game? I thought that third quarter they were in complete control, but they've still got to win games, Sydney. And every week they've got. I'm not sure who they have next week, but
The Dogs.
See, it's another tough game for him, Pat. So why not we push for it first? You know what I mean? Like you're 2 games off. Like I know it's going to be tough, but you got to just push for the max. And you never know. It could be us and Brisbane as the top 2. So it's going to be tight. And tonight, like you said, I was thinking about it in the halftime. I was going, if we fucking drop this game, we are stuffed. We are stuffed. So just got to win the game. I think we got to win next week. I think we should win next week. Should win next week if we're at our best. Like you said, I think if we play like the way we have been, I don't think we will win that game. But we've got to get to our best sometime soon. I think the shackles have got to come off again. And next week, Port Adelaide, let's put them in the ground, Patto. Why don't we put those cunts into the
ground? So it sounds like you're quite optimistic with what is to come. And the past few weeks would you just think this is a bit of a, I guess a reset, I guess. I mean, obviously we've been a bit out of form, but it's not ideal coming into round 20 that we've played 3 pretty poor games. We only beat the Roos by 19 points tonight. So are you quite optimistic of it eventually will shift, or are you quite worried?
Of course, of course you're going to be worried. I know it's cliche, but you got to take it a week at a time. You just have to take it a week at a time now. We can't look forward going, we got Hawthorn in 3 weeks. Let's just focus on Port Adelaide and knocking them off. Because you win next week, like you said, it's an 8-point game. Port Adelaide lose that game, they're probably in strife of making finals. They probably drop out of the 8 if they lose next week. It shows you how close it is. So they're going to be going hard, and we're going to be going hard. So, of course, I'm not happy with the form. It's unacceptable, the form, the last 3 weeks, right? But we've seen enough, Patto. The proof is in the pudding. We've beat good sides. We've beaten Brisbane. We've beaten Freo. We've beaten the Giants. We've beaten Geelong. We've beaten Port Adelaide. We've beaten Essendon. That's all we need to know, Patto. We're good enough to win this premiership. We just got to make it and get it in a spot where we can impact. Because if I said to you before the season, this is a question I asked to my mum during the game. If we made the top 4, I know the expectations change during the year, but if we made the top 4, would you be happy before the season?
To make top 4?
Yeah. Like just not even a top 2. Like if we got an away final, would you be happy?
Of course.
Yeah. So that it's funny. It's like the expectations obviously change from pre-season to now, but yeah, it's funny the whole look at it now. We're getting scared of missing the top 4. So I know it's the different stage we're in, and we want to be pushing top 4 and top 2, but I think we get it done, Patto. I think we trust the boys to flick the switch.
Yeah, well, the trust has gone just a little bit out.
Just
a little bit, but yeah, no. Well, I think that's the thing about like me thinking about we can't miss top 4 because the opportunities have been there. They've been there, and the Giants, like as I said, we lost by 12 points, I think it was, and then the Dogs was only 14 by memory. And tonight it was 17, like a win, but it's just like I'm still very, very. It might not seem like it, but I am very happy that we got the win tonight. I'm just extremely worried I haven't seen much of a shift. And that's kind of worrying signs for me. And I think next week is if we win next week, I'll feel better. But I just don't think us getting the win tonight in the fashion that we did it didn't change much from my point of view. Even halfway through the game, I was kind of in the mindset of like, even if we come out and win by 40 points, it's the key moments of like the second quarter. Once again, second quarter, we have conceded like so many goals. And like we didn't even start that well either.
No.
In the first quarter. So I don't know, I have lost trust. It's crazy saying it after the Cats game of how happy I was. I'm like, finally we can trust this team. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, we're like, crap. But I don't think it's warning signs yet because we got the win. We got the win. Next week and the week after, if we are dropping games that we shouldn't be, heading into round 22, round 23, when you should be playing your best football. And that's why, that's a question also about Jackson Binns. Do you play him because heading into finals, this is when you need to sort out what is your best structure. And then obviously, like if Blake Acres pulls up and he's sore and he's injured and he's unable to play, of course you bring in Jackson Binns because that's a like for like. But it seems like they've kind of played the 3 wingers of Acres, Hollands, Cottrell as much as they possibly can when they've all been available. But like knowing that, do you think you would bring in Jackson Binns if all of them are available? Because I don't know if that would ruin the structure or not. Because tonight we took a risk of Sam Durden playing as that key defender when we probably could have expected Lewis Young to play. But Michael Voss went with a bit of a outlandish call of playing Sam Durden, which we weren't too mad about. We were like, okay, well, it's great for the opportunity, but are you just worried over the next few weeks that we're changing too much and come finals time when we should have continuity within this side? That's not what is happening over the past few weeks and what's heading into the end of the season.
I would be against spins. I completely agree with what you're saying in terms of the finals, and we need to keep that structure. But I think our structure is almost the last few weeks has been completely buggered because we've got players out of form. I think that's the massive thing in structure, isn't it? You got players out of form and they keep playing. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like we've had those, when you play that guy an extra week too long or an extra 2 weeks too long, certain players. You got a guy who's in absolute scintillating form. He's got to get a look in. I'm not saying he might be getting picked or not. It's going to be hard to get in, but gee, if we're out of a little bit of form and we're bringing in a bit of fresh legs and a guy who's in form, I know it's at a different level, but fuck, what else is he supposed to prove? Like, against that, like 47, that's ridiculous. It's not 30. It's 47 and 3. So, yeah, it's a tough selection is going to be the toughest thing ever in the next. Imagine the first week of finals. Who the bloody hell are we going to pick? Like, oh, there'll be injuries and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously Chincotta's another topic of itself. I don't know if he gets in the team, if he's not tagging. So, it's tough, but we're on 12 wins. Let's look at it like that. Fuck, 12 and 6.
Mm.
Never really seen that in their lifetime. Fuck me.
Yeah, but even looking at the 6 losses, you're like, shit, because they've been losses that really
Adelaide.
shouldn't happen. Well, I mean, Adelaide is one of them that you kind of think about straight away. But even to a stretch like the Collingwood game, in hindsight, you look back at that and you're like, that's a bad loss. And then obviously Sydney was an absolute smashing, so we couldn't really do much there. But I'm just going to ask you a question about Jordan Boyd, and obviously he was injured tonight. Do you see that being a straight stop for Chincotta and Boyd? I mean, obviously we'll touch on this a hell of a lot more in the preview, but I just want your overall thoughts of the raw emotion of the game. Like, Chincotta didn't seem, I mean, he was back to his kind of traditional role. I know that he started off as on Zerha, but I think he was almost tagging as well.
Yeah.
But do you think that would be a straight stop for Jordan Boyd coming in for Chincotta?
Yeah, maybe. I feel like Chincotta played a bit of forward in that last quarter as well. They were kind of just switching everyone around, weren't they? It's I don't know. It's tough. The way I see it, maybe I don't know. Chincotta for me, if he's not in the side to have a role in terms of minimising an opponent, I don't think he's there yet. And the first 7 weeks he wasn't in the team, so it's really depending on what the structure looks like. You got Gov coming in as well. Chincotta probably can't go forward now if Jack Martin's going to get in the side. So, I wouldn't mind a forward line of Curnow, Mackay, Martin, Motlop, Owies, Fogarty. Fuck me. And it's great to see Motlop get a run today. That's all he needed. Just get a run in a win, kick a couple of snags. That's all we need to see. And then you get Jack Martin in that team. He kicks those goals in the last quarter, doesn't he? The one that Chincotta missed, that's Jack Martin. That's a goal. And that's game over, and we win by 40 plus. We would have won by 40 plus. Heads would have dropped. That you keep the door open against any team. They have a sniff and they have that belief. You kick that goal, it's over. So it's those little differences, isn't it, in gameplay? Jack Martin might have his 7-8 touches, but he'll have 3 goals where he's clinical in front of goal in a moment where he might kick a goal out of nothing or kick the goal you need. So, yeah, it's interesting.
How do you find Motlop's overall performance? Because obviously he had the 3 goals, 6 disposals, 4 kicks, 2 handballs, 1 mark, 2 tackles, which I think was quite tough. It didn't really seem like there was a hell of a lot of tackles, especially inside that forward half. How did you see Jesse Motlop's game? Because to me, it was really optimistic that he was able to get out there, play and win, as you said, probably get out in a win against not a great opposition in North Melbourne, all due respect. How did you see his game?
Yeah, I think it was the perfect kind of, slowly get him into the AFL pace and speed again. He still kicks 3 goals, so that's what he does. He's a bit like Martin. Obviously, they're different players, but when you need him to kick a little goal out of a pack or snap a goal, he'll kick the goal for you. So, yeah, it's good to see, and it's gonna be hard for Zach Williams to get back in that team, I think now. Really depends. It's the needs change every week, don't they, Patto? Like, you win a game and your needs change, you might go, oh, we need to change something in our defence. Next week you go, oh, we need something up forward. It's a week by week thing, and it really depends on the injury report come Tuesday, and obviously we'll touch on that now preview.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think now there is a bit of pressure on a guy like Elijah Hollands. Let's be real.
Yeah.
And then even like a Matt Cottrell of, do you play the 2 genuine wingers? Because you know that a Blake Acres and Ollie Hollands can run out a game. And you know that if Ollie Hollands makes way and Cottrell goes to that wing position, you know that they can both run out the game. And you've got a guy like Elijah Hollands, if you do want to play Elijah Hollands as that winger as well, because obviously he was one of those guys at the start of the season who had a very good time trial. So, I mean, like also coming off a season where he kind of had to prove himself, and he's come on the very first chance that you've got within like to show yourself to the club and almost win the time trial. Or I don't think he won in the end. I think
No,
he's
I think
second to Cottrell.
Cotter's one, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
Cotter's.
Cotters. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think beat Ollie, who's a fucking great runner. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but then like I mean that's what I'm saying. Like I think like there's small things of do you change the position of because I think I completely agree. You've got to make way for Jack Martin.
It
Like
has to
in
be.
this forward line. I mean, I kind of smiled a little bit because I thought about it today and I'm like, God, how important Jack Silvagni would be right now as well. Instrumental.
He would have played down back today.
Exactly what I said today. Exactly what I said because he can play anywhere.
Yeah, and I feel
Anywhere.
like obviously he's important size-wise. Oh, I think Sam Docherty's huge too.
Oh yeah, obviously.
You
Yeah.
wouldn't have to play Carroll. You'd have Docherty in the middle. And if you're struggling up forward, Doc can play half forward. If you need a winger, Doc's your man. If you need a defender, Doc's your man.
Yeah.
And it's similar. We had the two guys who were almost utilities in his team that can play any position on the ground to a good level, solid level, and they're both out for the year. That could cost you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I probably didn't mention Doherty because I think we all know how instrumental he is to that structure. But oh god, like even thinking about Blake Acres on one wing, Sam Doherty on the other wing as well.
Yeah,
He transitioned to play a bit of wing. And oh god, I mean, we all know how great he was as a defender as well. I mean, obviously being an all-Australian defender, so he's one of those guys that I think he would be crucial. But I mean, obviously we touch on it in the preview about he's tracking quite well. So I mean, obviously we had quite a long conversation about do we risk him, and then we obviously had a bit of opinions from the people around the socials, which was great to see. I think it's pretty much divided of you've got the feel good story of playing Doherty in a grand final if we do make it. I mean, we're speaking about a grand final and we just beat the Kangaroos by 19 points, but but then we've also got like the other side of the spectrum of do you play Doherty of like there's been a lot of structure within the side and come grand final time, hopefully we've got a good structure if we make the grand final, obviously. Do you play Doherty as a sub? Because even you said like he would be perfect as a sub. But yeah, just small things like that. It really does make it. And I think I'm sure the players would look at him on the training track, seeing how hard he's working, and that's going to make them work even harder because they're in the fortunate position of being able to go out there every single week and actually have a result in that outcome. But Doherty is watching on the sidelines like us all of we can't do much about it. Yeah. We would love to go out there and actually make a difference in this outcome, but we can't. So that's just what I think. Hopefully a lot of these players that do cross over that white line in senior footy kind of look back and be like, yeah, like I want to play for guys like, I mean, obviously the members and the supporters, but also for a guy like Sam Doherty and Jack Silvagni, a guy who's with it, like his last name's a very famous family within the club. Small things like that. I just think it's a really feel good story. But Dave Boy, we're gonna touch on our last segment. It's obviously our bagger of the game votes, and obviously to the people who don't know what this is, we go through 3, 2, 1. Obviously 3 votes for the best player tonight, 2 votes for the second best player, and 1 vote for the third best player. Exactly like the Brownlow system of how they do 3, 2, 1. That's how the bagger of the game votes work, definitely. But have you got your 3 players? Because I am finding it I've got 2, but I'm finding it very tricky to find that third one. So have you got your 3? And if so, what are they? What are they? And what order are the players in?
Yeah, I've got my 3. I was really debating just in my head then who, the order of play. I got my 3, which I think, he had another good game today. But 1 vote, I thought he was very good today. And he kicked his first goal in 1,200 days. 1,200 days. And it was in the last quarter. And it looked very odd that he lined up. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It was just like Sardi, of course.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought that was
yeah.
a
Yeah.
how about that moment where he picked it up one hand and ran the whole ground? It's just that those are moments that he does, and he capped it off with a goal in the goal square. So he's my one vote. Two votes. He talked about him in the game. If you kick four and you have 15, you take however many grabs he took. I've got Charlie at two votes. He kicked four goals. He kicked important goals too. It's hard, my votes. I thought one guy missed out. I know he didn't have the numbers, but I thought he changed the game. And it was Tom DeConing in that middle with that 5 minutes, that 5-10 minute patch where he kept getting clearances. What the fuck? Like, he can't be stopped. He just gets in this mood where he goes, I'm just going to grab it out the ruck and, get it straight out of the middle. But two votes, obviously, Charlie. Three votes. You know who it is. He was tough today, Cripper. Holy fuck. He had some moments where, you just lay a big bump and then all of a sudden the ball gets out and you go, that was Cripps in the middle of the pack. So he's my three. He would have got the two Brownlow votes because I think Harry Sheasel would have got the three Brownlow votes tonight, but I think Cripps would have had the two. Still had 29. He was bustling through there and had some big moments. And he's just ticking off good performances, isn't he?
Yeah, that Brownlow conversation is starting to get a little bit quiet now because I think we all know who's well and truly leading the votes right now. I mean, obviously Lockie Neal is making a late charge, but God, Cripper is having some sort of a season. But yeah, so I've got my three. I usually do write them down. I don't know why I didn't write them down, but I thought I would go straight off the top of the head, Daffy Boy. But one vote, Jesse Motlop.
Yep.
I'm going Jesse Motlop. I think it's a bit of the feel-good story of the return. And I just think, a bit like Tom DeConning, he changed the game. Yeah. I just think his energy, when he kicks those goals, I mean, even just the small things of at the start of the game when they went through the players and then they announced the players. And then obviously Patrick Cripps always gets a larger ovation. But Jesse Motlop had a large ovation. I don't know if we heard about it, but I mean, obviously it was his return game, but he's starting to get to that level of being a constant cult figure within the Carlton Football Club, and he's so well known Carlton wide within the supporter base, but I think AFL wide. I think everyone's starting to realize that he's a good player, and he's obviously got a very famous last name. So I think he's my one vote. I've gone two votes, Charlie Curnow. I was probably going to do Charlie 3, Cripper 2.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought about it and I'm like, I think Cripper probably has to get the 3. Actually, you know what? I'll go Cripps 2 to change it up. To give Charlie a bit of a... Because, I mean, I kind of thought about it and it was like 29 touches for Cripps, obviously. Then obviously 7 tackles. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good game, isn't it? Pretty good game, isn't it?
9 clearances.
All right, I'll switch it back to This is why if I write it down, I just nothing changes. It's already
I think a name that also was good today in the forward line. I thought Lockie Fogarty had a good game today. I thought because he struggled last week, and I thought he was good. He had 2 goals, 12 touches, 5 tackles. That's all you need from a guy like that. Just do your thing. So he's almost just missed on mine as well. I thought he just played a good role, just a really, really good role.
Yeah, one of those things also is 4 goal assists as well. That's crucial. That is crucial too. And then I think that's his that's his bread and butter. And obviously, I think he was the game high. Yeah, so he was second. I mean, he was equal first along with Cam Zurhaar for goal assist. So I think, and then obviously he was the first for Carlton, and the next best was Nick Newman at 1. So he had +3 goal assists over any Carlton player. And actually, no. Zurhaar and Fogg both had 4 each. Yeah. And the next one was George Wardlaw at 1. So it just shows that, like, the way that we kind of use Fogarty and the way that North Melbourne use Zurhaar, I think, which I don't mind how Zurhaar has kind of played this year. North Melbourne have used him quite well, of trying to push up the ground a little bit. One of those moments was lacing out Nick Larkey inside that forward 50. I think that was a really good kick. But I'll go. Yeah, so I'll go Charlie Curnow 2, Paddy Cripps 3 votes. I like small things of you kind of think with your heart more than your head, but I think I kind of thought I would think a little bit more with I don't even know what I'm saying, Dave Boy, but but obviously Charlie Curnow with the 2 votes, Paddy Cripps 3, but Charlie still played a great game, great game of 4 goals and 15 disposals. But Dave Boy, that obviously is the last segment that we'll touch on for the review episode of Carlton versus North Melbourne. But before we wrap up the episode, is there anything else you would like to touch on before we move on to next week against Port Adelaide?
Yeah, quick turnaround. I'll tell you what, I know we struggled past today, but I'll tell you what, is there anything better when we get going? When we get going, it's nothing. Any team from 1st to 18th, they can't stop us at certain stages. So we just got to know that. The players know that. We've just got to get to that stage more consistently. And I got a good feeling about this Friday night. I got a real good feeling. I feel like it's like even today, Carlton of the past lose that game for sure. Like we wouldn't be able to turn the clock, turn the gears.
Yeah.
We've been doing it all year. It doesn't matter what team you're playing against. It is hard to get to that stage where you can just turn it on. And we did that in that 5-week period where we were kind of lurking with a 10-point, 15-point lead, and then we'll just go bang. Like tonight, we did that in the 3rd quarter. We just flicked the switch, didn't we? The game just completely changed, and their control of the game was just gone in a matter of like 4 minutes, I reckon. So that's when you know you can do that, and we can do that against good teams. We did it against Port Adelaide in the last quarter against them. I thought we played really well against them across the board, and then we flicked the switch, Patto, kicked 9 goals in the last quarter, and yeah, they're a gettable team, Port Adelaide. They're good. Obviously, they go okay, but we should be winning this game. You look at the odds; they're paying $3 Port Adelaide. So if you look at that, we should be winning that game, Patto.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously they would want a bit of redemption as well for earlier on in the season. They probably wouldn't accept that performance, especially at home. So I think them traveling to Marvel Stadium, and I think they've actually been quite good at Marvel Stadium.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I feel like they play really obscure teams there when they play there. They never they play. I feel like we knock them off a fair bit when they play there, but when they
yeah,
play like Saints,
Saints. Saints.
that game was horrendous when they beat. I think it beat them by 2 points or whatever. See, that's like, yeah, exactly. Like they just play a shit brand. So let's just knock them off, fuck them off back to Alberton or wherever they're from.
Golly. Yeah, no, well, you can obviously realise that we're starting to head towards the end of the episode. We're both pretty tired, David Boy. Yeah, but yeah, I think the last thing that I'll say is good win, but a hell of a lot to work on if we really want to be serious coming into the business end of the season and heading into finals. If we really want to be serious of like the opportunity is there of we can actually make a genuine charge towards this championship, we need to really pull our finger out and sort out what is going on. Because I just think we are still so disconnected.
Yeah.
So disconnected. And we need to sort that out over the next few weeks. And that's why like selection is going to be very interesting, because whether you do take a few risks, because I think we did take a few I think we made a few risks this week with the moves. But just there's a few other I guess moves that I would make of bringing Jack Martin and these guys that I think Marchbank can be fit next week. I think you almost
fucking Marchbank. What the fuck? Honestly,
so stiff.
Thought you fucking. I know it's unlucky, but gets to a point, doesn't it? Like fuck me, like illnesses, like injuries. Like sometimes it's not meant to be. I hate to say it, but you know what I mean with certain players. But also, I just looked at the injury report. Walsh has a back. That's not a massive. I saw him come off. He ran off. That's what I thought in that last quarter. He didn't play the last 5 or so. He just came off, and I think he just told him, I can't, just take the last 5 off. We won the game. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to watch. And like I said, just get him the week off. If he needs it, get him the week off. He won the best finals player last year. So we need him right for the right time of the year. I don't give a fuck if he's right for round 20 against Port Adelaide. I need him right for the qualifying final in front of 280,000 blue baggers at the MCG, sit on top of the fucking roof if we have to. We will be there. Qualifying final against the Dockers. See you there.
Oh, the Dockers, God, I was going to expect bloody the Dons, mate. Could you imagine that?
The Dons?
The Dons.
Mate, they'll be bottom four by the time next week, mate. They're not making the 8. I'm making that call.
Oh.
They're done. They are cooked. Put a fork in them. Put a fork in them. They're cooked.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely agree. Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll have a lot more to touch on for the injury list come preview. Come the preview. I mean, it's a very quick turnaround, so we'll try and get the preview out over the next few days. But for every single blue bagger out there, I know that we're going through a bit of a shit time right now, but make sure to still try and enjoy Carlton every single week, because as soon as the season is done and it's heading into cricket season, summer season, whatever it is, tennis season, Australian Open, probably would be thinking I do kind of miss AFL. So try and live in the moment right now of Carlton are still second on the ladder, something that we haven't seen in two decades at least.
Yeah.
Try and live in the moment. But to every single blue bagger out there, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. I think we have about 14 or 13 left until we reach 1K. So we're closing in very quickly. So make sure to get around the YouTube channel, but also make sure to get around our other podcast platforms if you want to listen to our audio version of the podcast. Make sure to get around those, but also get around our social platforms as well. But to you, Daffy boy, and to every single blue bagger out there, the baggers!